Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. That means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Hope your work week's off to a good start, but like half the work week's in the rearview mirror. There's a lot of things that I generally say during the week that kind of apply right now. I just dropped my 3-year-old into my cousin's car. He's headed north to Shreveport. Her work week's done. His work week never started. Ours is about half over. We've got today and tomorrow. So whatever the case may be, hope you're enjoying your time with some family this week. And thanks for locking us in on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Chat with Sharief, Ishaq coming up in 15 minutes. Saints have kind of moved their schedule around with the coaching change. Darren Rizzi's got the media at different times. So we're moving our Saints guests around every Tuesday and Thursday with Sharief and Luke. But Sharief's going to give us some time in 15 minutes. Glen West in his normal spot at 1:30. We'll talk Tigers. We'll talk Saints. Big basketball commitment headed down the pike this afternoon in about 2.5 hours with Chris Sinek, the 5-star. I've got my thoughts on that at the end of this hour. So lots and lots to do. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Let's start the same way we start every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
So it's time now to start looking at Oklahoma. Usually I try to save a little bit of content Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to preview the game that's coming up, but we're not here on Thursday and Friday. So it's time to start diving into what LSU and Oklahoma are going to look like on Saturday and what should be a chilly evening in Tiger Stadium, but one that I think is cool. And I've talked about this really since the summer. I have grown up going to games in Tiger Stadium. I've seen Florida come out of that tunnel many times. I've seen Alabama come out of that tunnel many times. Ole Miss, Auburn, many, many times. Even Georgia and Tennessee, you've seen multiple times come out of that tunnel. I've never seen the Oklahoma Sooners and the Sooner Schooner, which I don't think travels. But either way, that team, that program, come out of the South End Zone. And I think it's going to be really cool. I'm one that is not completely anti the conference realignment. I think there are some flaws in it, and Cal playing in the ACC is a little bit ridiculous. But Oklahoma and Texas kind of fit what we're trying to do here. And as I've said many times, like as I look at this, it's not a completely foreign thing for me to drop Auburn off the schedule and add Oklahoma to it. Like, it didn't take me very long to work up some emotions with Texas A&M. That's pretty evident. And I feel like I'll probably get there with Texas and Oklahoma here pretty quickly. Right now, all my Oklahoma memories are phenomenal. I've got memories of January in 2004 that are phenomenal. I've got memories of December 2019, which are phenomenal. I feel pretty good about even baseball in 2013 with Aaron Nola and Jonathan Gray when Oklahoma came here. Like, my memories of LSU and Oklahoma are pretty good at this point. I'm sure that's going to change at some point over the next decade. And we'll see what happens on Saturday night. But I'm excited to see that program, that uniform, even if the team's not very good this year, go to battle on the field inside Tiger Stadium, one of the iconic venues. Every single week for LouisianaSports.net, I put together a statistically speaking article. I use air quotes there in a big way because really it's just a bunch of numbers. Sometimes I write an opinion column, which uses some colorful language and it reads, fairly smoothly, or so I think. This is not that type of piece. This is just throwing a bunch of numbers at you if you like to analyze how things shake up. And every single week, I take the numbers, and if something is really good, a really strong aspect of the team, I put it in green. If it's a very big weakness for the team, I put it in yellow. This is Oklahoma's offensive sheet. If you can't see it, it is real yellow, and there is not a single bit of green on it. This Oklahoma offense has been atrocious from start to finish. Atrocious. I take the yellow to highlight things that are the worst in the league or next to last in the league. Oklahoma, scoring offense, 15th. Total offense, 16th. Yards per carry on the ground, 16th. Passing offense, 16th. Sacks allowed, 16th. Tackles for loss allowed, 15th. Third down conversions, 15th. Yards for play, 16th. And these are not like, oh, that's not very good. This is the worst the conference has to offer. And Oklahoma, it's not just one aspect. Like, it wouldn't be that shocking if Mike Leach was last in the SEC in rushing attempts and rushing yards. Okay, well, that's just not part of what they try to do. It'd be one thing if a Les Miles offense was second to last in passing yards per game. But Mike Leach is also going to probably lead the SEC in completions and lead the SEC in completion percentage. And Les Miles probably going to be pretty good in terms of yards per carry and rushing offense. There's a give and take there. But if you notice as I run through those, total offense is the worst. Scoring offense is second to worst. Yards per carry on the ground, the worst. Passing offense, the worst. Sacks allowed, that's in the passing game, the worst. Tackles for loss allowed, that's the running game, second to worst. It's every aspect of what they're trying to accomplish offensively has been an abject failure. And they won the game on Saturday, and they couldn't complete a pass. They threw for 68 yards. Jackson Arnold completed 11 passes. They needed Jalen Milroe to give out interceptions like Halloween candy for them to even do anything offensively. And they held Alabama to 3 points, and we'll talk about that because this is the defensive sheet, and it does have some green on it. But the offense has just been awful. And they've shuffled quarterbacks, and they fired their coordinator, and they're trying to figure out some way to move the ball here down the stretch. And it hasn't been overly successful, clearly. Brian Kelly was trying to lob compliments at Oklahoma yesterday, as coaches do in that ridiculous opening monologue for a press conference, where you talk about how great the opposing team is, even if they're the worst in the league at everything on offense. And Kelly said they're very heavy on ball control.
They made a change at the offensive coordinator position earlier in the year, and it really changed the dynamics of the offense. The offense is now, it was averaging close to 85, 90 plays a game. I think they've had 62 plays their last two games. So it is a ball control offense. Jackson Arnold is an outstanding quarterback. He can throw it extremely well, but this is now much more about controlling the football, running the football, playing with physicality. They've got perimeter skill, but I think it's centered around much more of a run-centric quarterback run and take care of the football.
Well, clearly they attempted to do that. They ran Jackson Arnold 25 times in the game back on Saturday. I would not suggest that it was some sort of a clinic on the ground that Oklahoma put on against Alabama. Now, Bama's got a pretty good defensive front. LSU did not have much success running the ball. But Oklahoma, they ran it for 5 yards a carry. They just ran it a ton. And that's really what you're going to see in this game on Saturday, Oklahoma do, because they don't have another gear. They don't have the ability to get back there and throw it. Brian Kelly said there that Jackson Arnold is a great quarterback. He can really throw it. That's not true. He's not a great quarterback. He can't really throw it. There's no body of work in Jackson Arnold's time as a starter at Oklahoma this year that suggests he's great. None. This is a team that really struggles to throw the ball, and part of that is because they've been down 4 wide receivers. That hurts big time. But you're also talking about an offense that's last in the SEC in yards per play, that's second to last in third down conversions, and it's not like they're keeping the ball a ton. They're 12th in the SEC in time of possession. Again, I understand they've tried to make a philosophical change, but since they've fired Seth Littrell, it's not a dominant effort in terms of offense. They scored 23 points on Missouri. They scored 14 points on Ole Miss. So, it's not great. You can try to spin it as best you can, but it's not great. But Kelly continued on in his press conference yesterday and talked about Arnold running the football.
Well, I think it starts with the quarterback. The ability to get us the favorable looks that gave the offensive line the numbers, right? Where we could run combination blocks, where we could get leverage, where we could get some of the things necessary to have, a more consistent running game. And it starts with the quarterback. quite frankly. When you're in a one-back offense, you have to be able to do that. And I thought Garrett was outstanding. It was his best game by far. And look, you call a run play, the numbers aren't right, the ball goes out to an Aaron Anderson. He's going to make 2 or 3 people miss. That's really a run call, but the numbers weren't right. When they were right, we were able to run the football up into favorable numbers. And now those guys can effectively do the things that they're coached to do. Pull, gap, combination block, leverage. And we saw that on display in its best form against Vanderbilt.
Sometimes we hit the wrong button and play the one about LSU's running game with the quarterback. This is Kelly One talking about Jackson Arnold's legs against Alabama.
They ran the ball extremely well this past weekend. Jackson Arnold, I think, is an outstanding quarterback. He can throw it, but rushed for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rushed for 131 yards on 25 carries. So, I think everybody here knows our history with the quarterbacks that run the football. That will be a challenge for us.
And I'm sure that they're going to line it up and try to run with Jackson Arnold. Now, again, he's 6'1", 211 pounds. And they got a backup quarterback in Hawkins that's clearly able to show up and run the ball too. I don't think that Oklahoma has turned over a new leaf offensively, and they're just going to be able to be a power run game that controls LSU and Alabama start to finish. What I think is that they're going to try to run the ball a lot on Saturday, and LSU knows that that's coming. And they knew it was coming against Alabama, and they couldn't do anything about it. They knew it was coming against Vanderbilt, and they could do something about it. We'll see which one of LSU shows up on Saturday. If it's the defense that played assignment football and made tackles against Vanderbilt with the option attack they were trying to show, and they played great on third down, well, I think you'll be in good shape. If it's the team that could not do anything against the power running style of Jalen Milroe, that turned into a speed running style when he got to the second level, well, you've got big problems. So that's key number one in this matchup for sure, is this new style of play that Oklahoma is going to try to adopt and whether or not LSU can respond to it. It's nothing new. The same thing we've talked about for 3 weeks. We'll see what LSU can do coming up on Saturday as Oklahoma comes to Tiger Stadium for the first time as a member of the Southeastern Conference. Actually, for the first time ever. LSU and Oklahoma have only played in 3 bowl games to this point. If you're looking for LSU content, you can find it on YouTube, Hunt on LSU. That was our Genesis opening drive. When we come back, we'll shift gears to the New Orleans Saints. Sharief, Ishaq from WDSU. We'll jump aboard.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is where you can find every car that is on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Fairly new at that location, Airline and PQ here in Baton Rouge, but invite you to stop on by. The Christmas season's coming up. If you're thinking maybe that might be the time you want to head over there and grab a new vehicle, it's an awesome time to get by Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single new purchase from Genesis of Baton Rouge, 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. Plus 3 years of complimentary maintenance. And not just complimentary maintenance, complimentary valet maintenance. 3 years of that. So you don't think you have time to get the service done on your vehicle you know needs to happen. You just call Genesis of Baton Rouge, say, hey, got my car, I'm going to be at work, here's the address, can y'all come pick that up and handle things on the maintenance side? Absolutely. They'll send one of their brand ambassadors right to you. They'll pick up your car. They'll leave you with a car. They'll take care of the maintenance, bring it right back to you. You never lift a finger. You don't change your routine at all. It's just part of the experience of being a Genesis of Baton Rouge driver. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. That's Genesis of Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Tuesday show is brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar, 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus, Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. Award-winning jumbo chicken wings, cold draft beer, sports on TV. Pluckers, if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird. Sharief, Ishaq, WDSU, good enough to switch things around a little bit today as the media still gets a handle on how the Saints are going to run things under Darren Rizzi. He joins us now at Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharief, how are we doing?
We're doing well, Hunt. We're doing well.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. Look, the Saints coming off a bye. Injuries have been the biggest storyline outside of firing the coach, but the biggest on-field storyline. Are they fairly healthy at this point?
I would say so. I mean, the only ones you're probably going to be dealing with post bye week is Chris Olave, Kendre Miller. I mean, those are the two main ones I would see. Now, of course, Odebo is done for the season. Some of the other guys should be back. The one I want to pay attention to closely is Eric McCoy, since he didn't finish that game a couple weeks ago against the Browns, and see if he's back in the lineup and if he's, for the most part, fairly healthy. I mean, he that groin injury came back on him again. Yeah. So that's one of those injuries you don't want to mess around with. I was a little shocked they didn't wait until after the bye week to play him, but he's the one I'm going to be keeping my eye on the most to see if he is on the injury report or if he's going to be ready to play Sunday afternoon.
The running game obviously was huge in the win back right before the bye, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that the offensive line's getting a little healthier and they're playing better than I think a lot of people thought they would, myself very much included. Is that what you feel like kind of is the foundation of the Saints moving forward with some young pieces on the offensive line?
Yeah, of course. Let's be honest here. Preseason training camp, we all were speculating where Trevor Penning would end up and how he would shake out there on that line along the right tackle position, and he's been awesome. Let's be honest with you. He's been really awesome, especially in the run game. He's been solid there, and I would say this is where the foundation of this franchise is going to be. It's going to be that offensive line, and they're going to take them as far as that, they can take them when it comes to the offense. And it's good to have, Fuaga playing at a very high level, and then you getting that extra juice from Penning. And, of course, you have McCoy and Ruiz. And if they could just figure out that one other position, I think they're going to be fine. But, you have four solid pieces. And, after drafting so many first-round picks along that offensive line, you hope that, your offensive line is going to be good for, the foreseeable future. Yeah, I like what they've done. I know they've had to deal with a lot of injuries, throwing guys in and out of that lineup. But for the most part, I think the offensive line, even with the injuries, has really played well this season.
You think they'll be able to run it on the Rams?
That's, they're going to be the $1 million question. I mean, their defensive line is very stout. I mean, they got a couple guys. They got 3 or 4 guys on there that can create some havoc, especially in the pass game. That's what you got to look at when it comes to the defensive line is, will, they get the car a lot? Will, Kubiak have a game plan where they can release the ball quickly if that pass rush is going to be vicious? So I think they're going to have to be balanced again, man. I really think they're going to have to try running the ball. I mean, I know they don't have Saquon Barkley like the Eagles had the other night. He was gashing them left and right in the screen game. But I think that's where they can kind of take advantage of their aggressiveness of the Rams is in the screen game. And we know we saw it quite a bit against the Browns with Alvin Kamara and some of the other guys. So, yeah, I think the screen game is going to be, the number one key in that game for them against the Rams.
I mean, you say they don't have Saquon, and that's certainly true, and he's been fantastic. My fantasy team knows it very well. But, I mean, Alvin Kamara, pretty good this year when he's given some opportunities and his ribs aren't broken. So, I mean, where is Alvin Kamara, you think, in the pecking order of the NFL running backs now that he's got an offensive line in front of him and he's healthier than he has been?
What is he, in his 8th year in the NFL now? It's, it's Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. I know maybe Kamara's like top 10. But he just hasn't had the production like some of those other guys have had. I mean, they lean heavily on Saquon Barkley. But look, Alvin has been very good this year. I mean, this is like the best I've seen Alvin Kamara play in quite a few years. It's hard to put him in the top 5. He's probably top 7 right now. And it's nice to see the running backs are like very relevant again in the NFL, and they show they're important, especially this year. And with Derek, Saquon, and Alvin, I mean, they've shown how important they are to their respective teams. And I think Alvin's up there. I mean, I think he's the top 7-8 running back in the NFL for sure.
The reason I ask is because where would you have put him August 3rd of this year?
Oh, yeah, that's a big question mark because you didn't know like.
We hadn't been productive in 3 years.
Right, and that's fair to say. It hasn't been locked in, dealing with some injuries. You don't know if he was going to be engaged in terms of like being, involved with the team because of the contract stuff. But you heard him say, "I would not let the city down, not let the fans down. I'm going to play. I have a contract. I'm going to go play through it." And to be honest with you, I think he's been one of the better leaders on the team this year. I think maybe the top leader right next to Cam and DeMario I think he's done a really fantastic job on and off the field, and his on the field, considering all the injuries, him playing through the busted rib, the broken hand. Yeah, man. I mean, courageous. He's been really solid for them, and I think he's done a tremendous job this year, considering the previous 3 years haven't been that great for him.
Sometimes I ask unanswerable questions. This will be one of those. You just do your best. What do you think the new head coach and staff are going to think of Kendre Miller when they get here?
Well, first they're going to want to see if he's ready to play football.
Probably not.
Football. Yeah, that'd be the number one thing. Is he committed to football? Does he want to be on? Does he want to play? Does he want to be on a team? I think you've seen some of the stories at Ross. I put it out there that he didn't want to go on IR this last time. He thought it was just going to be a 1 week injury and he'd be back. Unfortunately, he got dropped on IR again. So I honestly think you're going to probably see some really good flashes of him when he gets back on the field. I think that maybe this change of coaching, from Dennis to Darren, you're going to see a motivated guy. I think the next coaching staff is going to find a place for him because they need someone dependable behind Alvin because they have no one dependable behind Alvin. Jamal's hurt. Jamal hasn't really put up, hasn't done really much since he's been with the Saints. They thought they were going to get a guy who led the NFL in rushing touchdowns with the Lions here, but it didn't. It hasn't panned out that way. So they need that someone. It needs to be Kendre, and I think they're going to find a spot for him. This next coaching staff, knowing the type of attributes he has as a running back when healthy. When healthy, of course. I mean,
we read, obviously, Ross's piece in LouisianaSports.net when Dennis Allen was let go about Kendre Miller not wanting to go on IR and saying, I'm really close. Do you just believe, and you covered Dennis Allen, you've spoken with Kendre Miller. Do you think that Dennis Allen just had enough of Kendre Miller and was just like, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. You're going on IR and we'll just find somebody else?
I mean, it started in training camp, Hunt. I mean, you could hear it in his voice. Yeah. He was frustrated with Kendre after the first practice. He hurt his hamstring a few minutes into the first practice, and you could just hear it in Dennis' voice, see it in his face that he's been frustrated. He had enough. And then, he comes back and then he gets hurt again. But, he's got to be ready to play football, Hunt. I mean, plain simple. He's got to be ready to be out there in the field and he's got to be, in shape and he's got to be ready to go. I mean, for a 17-game season, you got to stop missing games, missing too many games so far since being with the Saints. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a renewed Kendre Miller once he comes off this IR and he's going to be ready to go, in my opinion. I think this next coaching staff is going to motivate him, and he's going to be a very motivated guy.
All right, how do you think it goes on Sunday in the Dome?
Oof, man, I just don't know if that momentum was lost. I mean, you're dealing with a Rams team that's very physical up front, like we talked about earlier. I mean, they're a 3-point favorite. I don't know, man. I put this one down as a loss before this season. I still think it's a loss Sunday. I think we're talking about a 7 point game. I think they keep it close for a bit, but I like the Rams a little bit more than I like the Saints, and it has nothing to do with just the way the Rams are playing. I think it's a little bit of everything. I think they just got a little. It's going to be hard to deal with Cooper Kupp and Puka over there. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough, man. I think we're looking at a touchdown game.
Do you have any cooking responsibilities over the next 48 hours?
My responsibilities are to cover the Tulane-Memphis game on Thursday, so there will not be much eating.
All right. At Tulane, I mean, there's a lot of buzz down there about Tulane. I mean, how do you feel about they've obviously done a really good job in the coaching transition.
Yeah, going from Willie to John Summerall has been fantastic, and the players have responded well to it. I mean, this is exactly the type of coach Tulane needed after Willie Fritz, understands, NIL, understands the transfer portal, man, understands the kids a lot. These kids love him, and he loves them back, man, and they've responded on the field. The 8-game winning streak, playing Memphis. They're going to the AAC championship game regardless, but a win Thursday gives them the ability to host it next Friday against Army, and I think John Summerall is going to be in line for a big coaching get. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I don't know if it's like a North Carolina job since Mac Brown got fired, but his name is going to be coming up a lot here in this coaching cycle. Don't know how many jobs are going to open because, coaches are getting paid billions of dollars. You can't just fire anyone anymore. Yeah. But his name is going to be a hot commodity, man, and he's done a fantastic job with Darian Mensah and Mekhi Hughes. And Mensah is going to be a next-level quarterback. Just keep paying attention to him. If this nucleus stays together with Summerall next year, well, they're going to be a dangerous team.
It's very interesting that Tulane has sustained some success here to me because when I think about that job, I think about really high academic standards. I think about a fan base that is really small and very much like a lot of folks that go to Tulane are from the Northeast and then go back home and don't live in New Orleans. There's so many challenges to being the head coach at Tulane, and there's a reason why they've been so bad for so long. And now they've come along and really sustained really good play. Why do you think they've done that?
I think that just you find the right. I mean, they found the right players. I mean, it started under Willie Fritz finding those right players like Tajay Spears, Michael Pratt, and it's continued under John Summerall. I mean, they hit that portal really hard. Just like any other team in the country, Hunt, they've gone out there and they've gone navigating through that transfer portal and finding some of these studs. And some of these players are homegrown. They recruited out of high school, like Darian Mensah. No one thought he was going to be the starting quarterback. Everyone's like, oh, Ty Thompson. They gave him a big NIL deal coming from Oregon and transferring from the Ducks. No, Darian Mensah shot all the way up. Everyone thought he was going to be the third-string quarterback, and he's the starting quarterback. And he's absolutely, blazed through the schedule. He's opened up eyes around the country. And it's just like that. He's put faith and belief in some of these players. And I think a lot of these, players around the country are seeing, wow, Tulane, I can go to Tulane, and we could possibly get into the playoffs through the G5 that way. And then I just think that's the way they built it. They built the success, from within and through that transfer portal. And like you said, many years ago, probably couldn't do that. Now they can. They can compete with some of these other, mid-major schools and group of 5 teams and just go scavenger through the transfer portal. But the key has been John Summerall, man. You get a guy who's like 40, 41 years old, and he relates to these players. And I think a lot of people see that, and they want to come play for this program. And I expect him to be around another year or two, possibly. And I think this program will continue to grow under him.
He's Sharief Ishaq, WDSU. I would tell you happy Thanksgiving and enjoy the food, but I guess you'll be eating like jambalaya in the press box at Ullman or something. So enjoy that.
All right, Hunt.
Sharief Ishaq down there at WDSU. We'll come back with Glen West, Go 24/7, talking Tigers next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBears, Baton Rouge. You got to make LeBears your game day headquarters this season. They've got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine at ESPN Bet in person. It's a fantastic sports book to go check out. If you haven't, highly recommend you do so. They've got great seating options, whether it's a solo chair you can hang out in with a little shelf in front of you that you can put your food on. You can get the big group tables that you can sit on. The screens are huge. You can watch multiple games at once. Drink specials are fantastic. Got the sportsbook window right behind you. There's blackjack tables in there as well. It's a great place to hang out, enjoy some sports, and win some cash. And plus, you can sign up today for the Cover 5 SEC contest. Sign up, compete against me. Folks have been doing it all season long. Folks have been beating me all season long. You put the promo code in, LABRSEC24. That's LABRSEC24. Pick the games every week and see if you can win weekly prizes. If you're not a member, get the Penn Play app today. LeBears Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
All right. Thanks, Sharief. That just didn't come out at all. Thanks to Sharief Ishaq for hanging out with us here for a few minutes, a little bit earlier than usual, talking Saints. We always have our guy Glen West here at 1:30 on Tuesdays. Good enough to give us a little bit of time on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glen, how are you?
Doing all right, Hunt. Things have changed since the last time we talked quite a bit for both football and basketball, which is good.
Yeah, wins. They've won some games, which is always encouraging. LSU beats Vanderbilt on Saturday night. Did you have a main takeaway from that one?
I think just the fact that they were able to play a little bit more complimentary football. I mean, I think just anything that you could see positive-wise was going to be a win for LSU after having such, a letdown there for about a month stretch. You just wanted to see them play a little bit cleaner. And look, it couldn't have started much worse. You go 3 and out on offense, and you give up the 60-yard touchdown right out of the gates, and you're hearing the boo birds and the fire Kellys from the student section. But look, look, I think they settled in nicely into that game. They were able to tie it up right there on the next drive, and Vanderbilt never really got back into it from a leading perspective. It didn't really ever feel like LSU was out of control of that game. It felt like they were able to control the game for the most part the rest of the way. Thought the defensive line had a really nice night. I thought Savion Jones and Braden Swinson, Whitweeks through the middle, really got a lot of pressure on Diego Pavia and kind of made him uncomfortable. I think there were 8 or 9 quarterback hurries there, which kind of got him out of his game. So was a strong effort from that perspective. I thought Nussmeier played probably his best game of the season. He was throwing some lasers in there. I mean, he was really locked in from a throwing perspective. And I think you can see when he's at the top of his game what this team is capable of. And I think that he had a really nice night. And hopefully you can just now build on that here this week and kind of get you some momentum going into the offseason from a current roster perspective.
Yeah, Pavia couldn't really get going running the ball very much, and they got into a lot of third and longs, which they don't excel in. Oklahoma kind of been the same story. They kind of want to now run Jackson Arnold a good bit, and they're not a great third down team, not really good throwing team. They've had bad injuries and bad quarterback play. So do you think that Saturday was a step in the right direction moving towards Oklahoma for LSU's defense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, you just mentioned it there. I mean, I think Oklahoma threw for what, 70 yards in that game last week against Alabama, and was able to come out and win 24-3. I mean, obviously, the big key now is going to be, can LSU's defense adjust and for what they're likely going to see. And if I would put my money's worth on what's going to happen this weekend, I would imagine Jackson Arnold is going to run quite a bit, or at least try to run quite a bit in this game and try to test LSU's eyes and eye discipline and the front seven and just kind of the gaps and the run filling that they're going to have to do in this game. So I would imagine that's a huge part of the Oklahoma game plan. And we'll see if LSU can put together another stout performance defensively to kind of slow that angle down. And I think if they are, they should have some success in this game defensively, whether it's getting off the field on third down, maybe creating a turnover or two to help gather some momentum. But for me, really, the offense is going to be the story of this game, because I do think Oklahoma's defense is pretty legit. They just completely wiped out an Alabama offense, which we saw what Alabama's offense did to LSU a few weeks ago. I know that was probably the Heisman performance from Jalen Milroe that he'll never have again in his career, but it was still a very solid performance from them a couple weeks ago, and Oklahoma's defense really shut them down. So that's going to be kind of the angle that I'm looking at this weekend for LSU is, can LSU's offense continue to move the ball forward? Can they convert in the red zone? They were able to, I think, have 3 touchdowns last week, and I think 2 of those came, kind of in that 21, 22 yards and in, and it might have been all 3 actually that came in inside the 30. So just hopefully they can continue to have that kind of success as an offense. And I'd like to see some of these seniors kind of go out on a high note. I know that's always a real kind of fun storyline for the last week of the season, is seeing which seniors can have big days, and maybe Josh Williams can continue what he did last weekend and kind of put the team on his back a little bit.
How would you assess LSU's wide receiver play this year?
It's been a little bit of I guess an enigma to me. I mean, like they've been good. Like I think they've had some really solid performances. Obviously, out of Kyron Lacey, Aaron Anderson, I think has been really one of the biggest bright spots on that entire offense. Mason Taylor, I think, is as reliable as they come. But there's also been some times where they've struggled to create separation. There's been some times where they've had some drop issues and just haven't been able to, I think, completely get the most out of themselves throughout the course of the season would be probably the best way I could describe it. But look, I think they've been solid, and I think that obviously when you're replacing 2 first-rounders and 2 icons from last year from that team, and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors, it's going to take a little bit of an adjustment to see kind of what they have this year. And I think that they've had some really solid moments, but haven't maybe kind of hit the peak performance that I think many of us thought they could going into the year.
You mentioned you thought Garrett Nussmeier played his best game on Saturday. What aspect of it did you like?
Yeah, I mean, he was smart with his decision-making. I thought that he took some more chances down the field with the ball, which was really nice to see. I mean, I think we talked there for a couple weeks how they weren't really throwing the ball down the field very much, and look, that's something that they're still going to have to grow with in this offense. But I like the decisions that he made for the most part, and he really put some great touch passes on LSU's on the wide receivers numbers, and some of them were brought in, some of them weren't. That kind of goes back to what we were just talking about with the receiver room and just kind of the inconsistencies there at times. But I thought that he was just really in control of the game. And Brian Kelly said it afterwards that a big reason for LSU's success in the run game was Garrett Nussmeier and him kind of noticing what the defense was, how they could call, what they were checking in and out of from a play calling perspective, and really helped, I think, Josh Williams and Caden Durham have the kind of games that they did. And if they're able to complement the run with the pass, you can really see what this offense is capable of in terms of moving the ball up and down the field and potentially turning those into touchdowns instead of field goals or missed opportunities. So I thought it was a really strong performance from Nuss. It was really important that I think he had that kind of a performance here towards the end of the year, because he had been having some struggles here recently. But certainly you want him back next year. You want him to feel good going into the offseason. And I think these last couple weeks are really important in both of those areas.
You think he'll be back?
I do. I mean, like I get the the allure from NFL teams and just kind of the talent that's there. This isn't the deepest quarterback class, which is why I think you could see a team maybe slap a first round grade or a high second round grade on Nussmeier and try to convince him to leave. But I think at the end of the day, he understands that there's some things he needs to grow and develop here in college before he moves on to that next level. And I think he really loves LSU. I mean, there's a reason he's stuck around this long. It's for this opportunity. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think he envisioned this team going 8-4 or 7-5 or whatever it is. So I think there could be a chip on his shoulder to come back and to have a better second year as a starter and try to get this team into the college football playoff and go out on a much higher note. And he just strikes me as a guy that wants to kind of leave a legacy that's his own, and I think LSU has a good shot at getting him back, and we'll see if they can't convince a couple of these other veterans too to kind of maybe stick around for another year.
You think LSU wins on Saturday?
I do. Like I like their chances. I mean, I think Oklahoma probably just had the best performance of the season, and those things are kind of hard to replicate when you have such a high energy, high caliber kind of a win. They're going to be coming on the road here. It's going to be another Saturday night in Death Valley. Like I think LSU's found some things here this last weekend that they can really lean into. One of the things I thought was really interesting from Coach Kelly was that they've really simplified the playbook offensively. It's been a lot of the same play calls, a lot of just kind of honing in on what these players actually like and want to do in terms of running the offense. So if they can keep it simple and continue to move the ball offensively, get off the field on third down on defense, and kind of really limit what Jackson Arnold can do from a quarterback perspective, I like LSU's chances to get out with a win.
He's Glen West, Go 24/7, covers LSU football, basketball, baseball, as well as recruiting over there at Go 24/7. Basketball, you mentioned at the top there. Would you call the trip to the Greenbrier a success? They go 1-1?
It was a success, and I think it was important that they got at least one of those wins. I think 2-0 and you would have been ecstatic. 1-1, I think you're perfectly fine walking out of there 1-1. But the thing to me that I learned about this team, which I think can really pay dividends going into February and March, they can work from behind. Like they can fall behind. It's not a position you always want to be in, but let's face it, you're going to be in some of those positions where you're in double-digit deficits in the second half. And they really showed me a lot in terms of battling back in both of those games. They got down early to Pitt in the second half and were able to battle back and make that a 4 or 5 point game at one point in the second half. And then to get down 17 or 18 in the second half against UCF and fight all the way back, go to triple overtime, and still find a way to win that game. It shows me a lot about kind of the character I think that's on this team, the leadership that they brought in from a senior perspective in the backcourt. Jalen Reed, I thought, had one of his best games as a Tiger, and they were able to get some really complimentary performances from those freshmen who really kind of got that comeback started there in the second half. So really important 2 games for LSU there to split, but the fact that they were able to continue to battle through and fight back through some adversity when they were really playing not great basketball in the first half, especially against UCF, I thought was really important and could really show itself here as they get into the meat of their schedule.
We appreciate some time, Glenn. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, Hunt.
Glen West, go 24/7 for all your LSU team coverage and recruiting. You can check them out. Go 247.com. We'll come back. LSU hoping for a 5-star basketball commit here in the next couple of hours. I'll tell you what my thoughts are on Chris Sinak coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com. If you're dealing with surgery or an injury, trying to recover, rehabilitation, get back to being your active self, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports is where you need to be. If it's a youth football injury, if it's a car accident, if it's slept wrong or not even sure, just know that you're in some pain. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports can help you in a number of ways. They can do the dry needling, the cupping, the isokinetic testing, the scraping. They got first-class, state-of-the-art equipment over there at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports on their location. It's on Starring near Highland Road. And we've got an incredible staff of licensed physical therapists that will help you every step of the way to get you back to being your active self. If you're not able to exercise the way that you want to, not able to play golf the way that you want to, just hurt day-to-day more than you want to, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports can help you with all of that. Check them out online at evolvept.com. Go by and see them Starring near Highland Road. It's Robbie Bolton and his team at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Pluckers. We'll be out at Pluckers tonight, 8:30, sports trivia. Really invite you to come on out. If you're not in school this week and you want to just come hang out at Pluckers, you can definitely do that. If you're celebrating the end of a work week because you're off the rest of the way, come out and see us at Pluckers tonight, 8:30. We'll be watching some hoops, watching some football, and you can win some gift cards, eat some delicious wings, drink some beer. Nicholson location, 8:30. In a couple hours, Chris Sinak is going to announce his college commitment. He will not be signing. Early signing period is over. He can't put pen to paper until April now in college athletics. But this is the white whale for LSU in this class. Matt McMahon has done a phenomenal job getting 3 signatures already. Mozzie Mosley, a 4-star top 75 player in the country, a shooting guard, 6'5", from out in California. Jalen Reese, the point guard in this class, a 6-foot point guard from Orlando, who's a top 75 player in the class. Matt Gilhool, 6'10", stretch 4, top 75 player in the class. He's got 3 4-star commits right into this class at 3 different positions: point guard, 2 guard, and stretch 4. That's really good. But the linchpin of this whole thing has been Chris Sinak for some time now. Louisiana just does not produce a lot of 5-star basketball players. Just doesn't happen very often. You had Brandon Bass and Glen Davis. You had Tasman Mitchell. And there have been a couple that have certainly gotten away. But for the most part, not a lot of 5-stars come out of the state of Louisiana. And Chris Sinak is that. He started his high school career at Newman, now has moved on to boarding school, and everything's kind of been ripped down there at Newman. But still very much got New Orleans roots and came here for an official visit 3 weeks ago. And he's been kind of the guy that everything's been pointed to. And he'll make an announcement here in a couple of hours. And based on the national reporters, it doesn't feel like LSU's in a great spot. Sounds like Houston may have swooped in here and presented the best offer. Now, keep in mind, Houston sounds like a big step down from LSU just in your brain when you think collegiate athletics. However, Houston is in the Big 12. And they've won more basketball games than any program in the country over the last 2 years. Any of them. More than Gonzaga, more than Duke, more than UConn. Houston's won the most. And they've got Tillman Fertitta, whose name is on the arena and who is one of the wealthiest businessmen in the country. And he's a big supporter of Houston Cougars athletics. And they've already got signed letters of intent from a couple of top 20 players in the nation. Isaiah Harwell is a 5-star shooting guard from Utah, who Houston has ruled in. And again, Kingston Flemings from San Antonio is a 4-star point guard who they've got as well. And they've made Sinak the big that they've wanted. And it sounds like, based on the NIL potential and just the program that Kelvin Sampson's running over there, that they've probably won out. Now, they'll have to sweat it out until April, and LSU can keep trying, but it just feels like this is going to be a tough one to get nailed down. Now, that said, Victorious Miller committed to Oregon and eventually circled back around and ended up at LSU. So this is not unprecedented, but I'm not expecting super good news for LSU, and that's so disappointing because you just so rarely get that type of advantage geographically with a basketball recruit of this caliber. And if they could have put him in this class with those 3 guys I just mentioned, and you talk about 4 guys who are really, really talented at 4 different positions, that's the type of thing that can change the tide here. I still believe that LSU is going to need to continue to work the mid-major transfer portal and bring in the Jordan Sears of the world and the KJ Williams of the world, and that's going to be a big deal. But you don't reach the next level where Alabama has reached, where Auburn has reached. You don't get to that point if you can't get some pros. And Senak's a pro. He's going to be a pro. And that's a difference maker that LSU could add to this program. I know that LSU has recruited him exceptionally hard. I know that they've been on it for 3 years. I know that they got him in for a visit a couple of weeks ago, and they've made their pitch, and they've done everything the way that has worked for them in the past. But sometimes you get into these wars, and right now, Houston's a better sell than LSU. If you're talking about the basketball support, you're talking about the arena, you're talking about recent history, you're talking about Tillman Fertitta, like they're in a better spot than LSU. But the pitch is obviously, hey, you can come and elevate us toward that spot. We'll see what happens with Chris Senak coming up here. He's played it fairly close to the vest, but those that are kind of in the know from a national perspective believe that it'll be Houston that wins out today. Can they get that signature come April? We'll see. I'm certain LSU will continue a full court press as long as they possibly can. So Chris Senak makes his announcement here coming up in a couple of hours. We'll see if it is Houston or it is LSU. Missed any of our first hour? Catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can always find us. Talked about Oklahoma's offense at the top of the show. Sharief Ishaq talking Saints at 1:15. Glen West on the Tigers at 1:30. Come back after Sports Center. Got to get some Brian Kelly sound. Got some Saints pass rush to get to, and much, much more. So don't go anywhere. Come back after Sports Center. You are listening to a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Pluggers.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. They can do a full-scale bathroom renovation. A lot of folks refinanced 2-3 years ago, got that rate down in the low 3s, not in a hurry to move. That doesn't mean you can't improve your living situation. You can do that with a full-scale renovation from the folks at One Bath and Closets, and David Duvall and his team are happy to help you with that. It starts with a free consultation. Free. Doesn't cost you anything. You contact him at onebathandclosets.com. You have David and his team come out, say what you'd like to do. He'll come up with a plan to help you with that. They'll set the parameters. They'll set your price point. They'll give you a plan for how they're going to execute it, and they'll get that done for you. If you need financing, they can do it. 18 months, 0% if you qualify. It all goes through one company, One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, onebathandclosets.com. One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com.